A terrible struggle. Lil Scrappy's journey has been characterized by anxiety, terror, and times when hope felt like a far-off dream. Only a few days ago, his family was told that recovery was not guaranteed, and the doctors were hesitant to identify themselves. Fans eagerly awaited updates on their beloved artist's health while stunned and engrossed on their screens. His mother was distraught and had been pleading for prayers as social media was flooded with messages of concern, gossip, and even suspicions that Scrappy might never be able to return to the world he once knew. Close friends, meanwhile, were afraid that the worst was about to happen. But since then, everything has changed. The disclosure has shocked the industry, leaving everyone to wonder how it happened, what led to this amazing finding, and, above all, what this implies for Scrappy's future. Prepare yourself for a detailed examination of Scrappy's incredible return, the emotional reactions of his family and fans, and the behind-the-scenes drama that nearly flipped everything. In a startling and dramatic turn of events, doctors have finally given their approval. As his health improves, Scrappy is proving to be more resilient than anyone had thought. Everything. Lil Scrappy fans have been up at night checking their feeds in the hopes of discovering good news. But late last night, a close family member who had visited Scrappy in bed posted a mysterious message online. Miracles happen when you least expect them to. Keep praying within minutes. Somber news and the laments of this family had caused a sense of hopelessness, but now everything was different. The rapper, who had been fighting for his life, had suddenly begun to show signs of getting better. A close family friend who had visited Scrappy in bed late last night posted a mysterious message online that read, "Miracles happen when you least expect them." Within minutes, people were speculating that Scrappy was waking up and that the doctors had changed their diagnosis while they were still praying. Despite the lack of official confirmations, the excitement was growing. However, all changed this morning when Scrappy's mother, Mama D, who had been silent for days, suddenly gave a video. She had bright scarlet eyes. She cried uneasily when the doctors informed us that Scrappy's had a genuine chance of recovering. My baby is fighting. He's stronger than they thought," she said. This time, her voice was shaking, but it was from relief rather than despair. After days of hopelessness, optimism had returned, but the problem was more complicated behind the scenes than it appeared. Fans, other rappers, and celebrities shared words of joy and incredulity on social media despite the doctor's optimism. Scrappy was still in danger, so his family would have a difficult time getting him back to normal. The emotional roller coaster had been unbearable only 2 nights before. His health has been declining, and some doctors thought his body might not respond to treatment. In the tense hospital room, there were hushed conversations, silent prayers, and a deep fear of losing him forever. Former Bambi Scrappy's spouse had been going through a difficult period and experiencing emotional issues before his hospitalization. But now that she was with him and could see the monitors, it made no difference. "I don't care about anything else. I just want him to be okay," she remarked, according to a friend. And his mother, Mama D, was a strong woman who had done everything she could to secure the best doctors, the best treatment, and the best prayers. At one point, she even got into a fight with medical personnel, demanding more extreme treatments despite the evidence. An insider says she had yelled, "You don't give up on my son," to a doctor. She had not been missiled. The way that Scrappy was retaliating astounded even the most seasoned medical doctors. In the early hours of the morning, Scrappy, who had been unconscious for days, began to move. The doctors could notice it even if his fingers were just moving a little. Interpreted it as proof that his body was finally responding, and by midday, a lot more had been accomplished. Even though he was still feeble, Scrappy had managed to open his eyes long enough to notice his surroundings. A nurse who had been keeping a careful eye on him said that at first he appeared confused, as if he was trying to find himself, but then his eyes fell on his mother, and I can tell you that there was recognition in that. As the news spread like wildfire, family members hurried to his bedside, tears streaming down their cheeks. Finally, his daughter, too young to comprehend the gravity of the situation, was permitted to see him and grasped his hand. His vitals are stabilizing, according to one of the physicians, so there is hope even if he is still in danger. The doctors have been bracing the family for the worst, but now they said, "Daddy, wake up." If this continuous progress, despite the encouraging news, Scrappy still faced a significant challenge that would prevent a full recovery. He would have a protracted and uncertain road to recovery because his body was weak. Tensions were starting to rise between his family and close circle during this time, and while everyone was pleased with Scrappy's promotion, there was disagreement over what should happen next. His medical team wanted him to follow a strict recovery plan, but some family members didn't agree. Since spirituality is a miracle and should be handled as such, M, who has always been very involved in Scrappy's life, believes that it should be the main focus of his recovery. She informed the family that she had previously contacted a number of clerics and spiritual healers to persuade them to take part in the surgery, but Bambi refused and desire is solely medical method. He needs science, rehabilitation, and professional care. Now is not the time for experiments. Some thought Scrappy intended to cut out some of the people who had only added drama and negativity from his life after he recovered, but his close pals had their own worries. He needs a fresh start if he survives this ordeal. She said their argument in the hospital turned into a heated argument that almost turned into a full-on fight. He heard an old friend say, "No more toxic energy." And then there was Scrappy. Now scarcely conscious, he began to restore his strength and had to make choices about his future. Would he reconcile with Bambi, follow his mother's counsel, or choose an entirely different course that no one could see coming? There was no doubt that this story was far from over. The battle for control over Scrappy's recovery was intensifying behind the scenes, despite the fact that he was feeling better and the doctors were cautiously optimistic now. His mother, Mama, his close friends, and his estranged wife, Bambi, all had different ideas about what was best for him. Scrappy slowly regained consciousness, ready to be awakened to the drama that had been simmering while he was absent. Something that happened in the early hours of the morning stunned everyone. After battling to keep his eyes open the previous day, Scrappy suddenly discovered his voice. The room froze when he spoke, though it was hardly more than a whisper. Mama D, who had been sitting next to him for hours, appeared to have been smacked when the room became hostile. When she heard his voice, Bambi, who had been outside in the hallway, hurried inside. "I'm right here," she said, her eyes welling with tears, and she took his hand in hers. For the first time since his condition deteriorated, Scrappy appeared to be completely aware of his surroundings when his eyes opened. "I'm here, Scrap, I'm here." However, the moment was brief since everyone left. Mama D stood by his side every day, never giving up on him, and now his first want was to be alone with Bambi. There was a long pause in the room, and his expression darkened as he continued, in a hard but clear voice, "I need to talk to Bambi alone." Before everyone grudgingly exited the room, Mama D slapped Bambi. "I believe we didn't show any mothers, my dear." He broke off in a slightly sharper tone. Prior to his hospitalization, Scrappy and Bambi had a tense relationship. There were claims of arguments, betrayals, and even possible infidelity. After everything that had transpired between them, she didn't trust Bambi, and she wasn't the only one who was concerned. Others said that Bambi had already gone on, but now that Scrappy was in danger of dying, it didn't seem to matter. When she saw him vulnerable and helpless, all of her disdain and contempt vanished, and she knew she still loved him. Did he feel the same way in the hospital room, though? Scrappy writhed a little in agony and took a big breath. His body was weak, but his mind was more acute than ever. "I believed I was done," since he acknowledged that. Bambi muttered, "Don't bring that up," as an idea. Scrappy glanced at her and said, "You scared me, Scrap. You scared all of us." I resisted getting out of bed that night, saying, "You scared me, Scrap. You scared all of us. I'm not sure what will happen next, but I need to know if this is the end of it." Scrappy gazed at her with a look in his eyes that she could not quite make out. Bambi was astonished because she had been asking herself the same question for days and was positive that their marriage was over. However, something felt different now. "I don't know," she said. but I just know that I don't want to lose you." But before Scrappy could answer, Mama D entered the room again, and the door began to swing open. She was upset because she refused to let Bambi deal with the matter. "Oh, now you care? Where was all this energy when you all were tearing each other apart before he got sick? Where was all this love when you were out doing God knows what?" Mama D was chuckling. Bambi clenched her fists and said, "I've been here just as much as you have. Scratchy baby, you need rest. You don't need stress, and you definitely don't need to be dealing with this right now." It was whispered, "Can't you guys stop doing this now?" The mood was set, but the two women were silent. Outside the room, Scrappy was also becoming involved with his close friends. Several of them were supporting Mama D because they thought Bambi was only there to profit from the attention that Scrappy's illness had brought. Because Mama D refused to accept her son's freedom, several people thought she was being overbearing. Meanwhile, at the height of the chaos, an unexpected guest, someone no one knew, arrived. The hospital door opened when the tension between Bambi and Mama D was at its highest, revealing a face nobody had anticipated. Scrappy was thrilled to see his first child's mother, Erica Dixon, his former lover. Erica walked right past the chaos to Scrappy's room, disregarding Bambi's eye rolling. Her voice was loud enough for Bambi to hear her say, "Now, this is the woman who really has his back." Scrappy looked up at her with a surprised look on his face. "What are you doing?" Erica folded her arms and said, "I know you're not feeling well, and I didn't want to leave my daughter's father to handle this alone." Even though he hadn't spoken to Erica in months, he secretly wasn't shocked that she was there. In spite of their tumultuous history, she always showed up when it mattered. He simply murmured thank you and walked out of the room, leaving Bambi furious. "Oh, so now she cares," she muttered to herself, "Mama." Scrappy found herself in the middle of a war zone that is distinct from other people's families. It became evident that a whole new battle was about to start as his strength gradually returned. Scrappy lay in his hospital bed, his thoughts racing, his body still weak and fatigued, but the chaos around him was more powerful than ever. His mind was immediately racing with a new concern. Would he ever be able to perform again? Would he be able to perform again? Or did this mark the beginning of the end for his career? In Erica's, Scrappy was beginning to question everything, and Bambi was struggling to control her rage. Mama D added, pretending to be Erica, "Scrap, you don't have to worry over this right now," reigniting tensions that had never really gone away. She had taken a seat next to him and silently ignored the looks coming from the hallway, concentrating on getting better. Scrappy was scratching his forehead, and I don't know what looked better. He was discussing his life, his wife, his family, and his profession, all of which seemed on the verge of disintegrating, in addition to his health. When Bambi finally got tired of waiting outside and staring at Scrappy's, she said forcefully, "We need to talk," and went back into the room. Erica did not move, but her forehead went up. "You want me to leave?" Erica looked to Scrappy when Bambi said, "Mama D," who was pacing the doorway, grinned as if she was anticipating a fight by herself. Scrappy paused, then nodded slightly and said, "Yeah, let me take care of this." Erica then got up and walked past Bambi. As she left, Bambi gave her a knowing look, but she chose to ignore it since she didn't want to let Erica or Mama D turn this into another power battle. Instead, she decided to sit on the side of Scrappy's bed, and her mood lifted. She asked, "Scrap, do you even want me here?" "What kind of question is that? A real one?" Scrappy frowned and said, "Because of the way your mom has been acting and the way Erica just walks in here like she still belongs in your life." He exhaled slowly, noticing how complicated things had gotten and how, before his health scare, he and Bambi had been on the verge of splitting up. But now that she was here, she was showing him love just when he needed it. He said, "I don't know what's going to happen with us, but I do know that your presence here means something." Was it enough for Bambi to bite her lip in response? Before Scrappy could react, the door flew open again, revealing one of his best buddies. "We're having a problem." Diamond gasped and looked anxious. "What comes next?" Then Scrappy groaned. Lo the label. They're talking about replacing you, Scrap, Diamond continued after a minute. But they don't know if you'll be able to bounce back. What about them? Said Scrappy. They are already looking for someone else because they don't want to take any chances. A thick quiet descended across the group, and Bambi turned to Scrappy, panic burning in her eyes. They can't do that, she said. You're not even out of the hospital yet. I'm inside business. Don't wait, Bambi, she responded. He had struggled and worked too hard to let it all go, and now his music was more than just his career. It was his identity. Scrappy clenched his jaw and muttered, I need to talk to them. Diamond nodded her head, but she disagreed, saying, they need to know if Scrappy's going to be able to perform again, and right now they're not so sure. Scrappy had to grunt to let the label know he wasn't finished if they believed he was. He began to sit up, wincing from the pain, but Bambi swiftly stopped him by putting a palm on his chest. I don't know what to do, Scrap. You're not ready. If I don't defend my position, they'll take it away. Mama D, who had been listening in, entered with burning eyes and exclaimed, Ain't anybody. I'll call up those fools myself if I have to, Bambi said, but instead she rolled her eyes. Mama D, you've tried, haven't you? You can't just fix this in a damaged marriage. Mama D's retaliation caused Scrappy's head to begin pounding, and he moaned. Everyone stopped talking and just gazed at him because the argument wasn't getting any better. His tone was tight as he said, I don't know what's going to happen with me and Bambi. Bambi grabbed his hand once more, squeezed it, and then struggled for it, scraping it but doing it correctly and improving first. Scrappy gazed at her, then at Diamond, then at his mother. He hoped it wouldn't be simple because he felt something he hadn't felt in weeks. There were still challenges to face and people looking to see if he could succeed, but one. After a lot of suffering, it appears that there is finally optimism despite the emotional roller coaster that has been Scrappy's journey. Though the fight is far from done, the physicians have offered optimism. Will Scrappy fully return and prove everyone wrong? Will the doubts affect his music career? How are his relationships doing? Will he be able to go on without any further drama? This tale is definitely far from ended, and we'll keep you informed of any new developments. In your opinion, what will occur next? Kindly leave your remarks in the space provided below. If you want to be notified anytime there are updates regarding Scrappy's recovery, please click the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications.